All right, folks, Ricky Mills here today with Jaeger Veteran Adventures, and I'm giving you a veteran's perspective into tinnitus. So to start off with, what is tinnitus? Tinnitus is a ringing or humming, buzzing in the ears caused by damage in the ear. The noise you hear when you have tinnitus is not an external noise, so nobody outside of you can hear that noise. Tinnitus in America alone is a common thing and affects about 15 to 20% of society. If you don't know it, tinnitus is the #1 disability that veterans file for and get a service-connected disability rating for. Military members or service members / veterans have a higher rate of tinnitus due to the exposure to the loud sounds that they experience during their service in the military. Those sounds include gunfire, machine work that you're working around, aircraft noises, and a whole slew of other noises that service members or veterans were exposed to while they were in military service. As an example, in 2021, 167,000 service members / veterans were diagnosed with tinnitus. And there are currently 2.5 million veterans receiving compensation due to their service-connected disability rating for tinnitus. So to go into a little bit more detail, I actually looked up tinnitus on the internet, and I'm just going to read it to you what it says about what tinnitus actually is. Tinnitus can be caused by a number of things, including broken or damaged hair cells in the part of the ear that receives sound, or cochlea. Changes in how blood moves through the nearby blood vessels, carotid artery. Problems with the joint of the jawbone, which is called temporomandibular joint. And problems with how the brain processes sound. All right, to get a little bit more into the meat and potatoes of what I wanted to cover today. Tinnitus for me, as a veteran advocate and as a veteran myself with tinnitus, is what I would call, in military terms, a confidence target. If you have never filed for a service-connected disability rating, or if you have filed for service-disconnected disability ratings and have not filed for tinnitus but have ringing in the ears, file for it. It's a confidence target. It can be actually measured. So you're going to go to a hearing, the same office where they do your hearing test, and they can actually measure whether you have tinnitus or not using the machine. I believe it has to do with the tones. Again, I'm not a doctor. I'm just a veteran that's gone through the tests and sat through this, and I do have tinnitus as a service-connected disability rating. But I believe the machine puts out tones, and if your ear is ringing in that tone, you're not going to be able to hear that tone. How it affects me as a veteran, I'm an outdoorsman. I like to hunt turkeys. I like to hunt roebucks or roe deer over in Europe, and both of those deal with high-pitched sounds. So what happens in my life is when there's a hen or a turkey gobbling at a distance that the average person would be able to hear that, I don't hear those sounds. So I end up missing a lot of opportunities when I'm out in the outdoors hunting turkeys. Another reason why a lot of times I'll take to compensate for the disability that I'll have, I'll bring another hunter with me. I do have issued hearing aids by the VA for my hearing loss. I'm at 54 years old. I just make the choice not to wear them. I'm not ready to put the hearing aids in every day. But the hearing aids issued by the VA have a built-in sound system to compensate for your tinnitus. And these hearing aids are no joke. These are $6,000 to $10,000 hearing aids. And yes, you heard that right. They're sitting in my closet. But I'm just not ready at 54 to start putting in the hearing aids every day. I have them, and that's the beauty of filing for the service-connected disability rating. Receiving that legitimization that I do have the ringing in my ears, that I do have a hearing loss, and the VA trying to compensate me for it by issuing me Hearing Pro. But the tinnitus itself, the hearing aids that you're issued from the VA, You can turn up the volume on different sounds. In previous videos we made, I can show we're on the creek where the sound of the creek is one of the sounds that they'll have in there. They have wind, they have rain, there's the sound of a creek running, and there's several different sounds in there that you can pick and choose as the veteran with tinnitus, and you can play with them and try to figure out what sound helps drown out the ringing. It's not getting rid of the ringing, but it's playing a sound that counters the ringing or buzzing or whatever sound that you have in your ear. So there is some treatment for tinnitus that you can receive from the VA. So what do I mean when I say that I look at tinnitus as a confidence target? When I help as a veteran advocate with Jaeger Veteran Adventures, I'm helping at least 10 different veterans at one time, and I'll have one finish his process and get his 70 to 100%, and then I'll immediately pick up another veteran somehow. Either my business card finds its way to them or word of mouth, and they say, hey, get a hold of Ricky, he can help you. And in that process of all the things that I've filed for, tinnitus, one becomes service connected almost immediately because it's measurable. And then two, the service member almost immediately starts receiving some type of compensation. So a 10% compensation when you're a 4-year veteran or a 6-year veteran of the military, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, Space Force, comes with a monetary reimbursement. Right now, that 10% reimbursement is $175.51. So again, how does my tinnitus affect me in my life? What does the tinnitus in my life look or sound like to Ricky Mills? I know that my wife and my kids hear me say over and over and over again, does the ringing in my ears bother you? That famous line from the movie Airplane. And it resounds in my life time and time again when somehow, I don't know if it's the pressure in my head changing, the external pressure and the outside changing, but when I go from my normal ringing, humming, buzzing that I have in my ear to that extreme whee, and it's painful. It's hard to say that it's not physically painful, but it causes me to wince. It causes me to put my finger in my ear and then to just kind of hope and wait for it to go away, which normally it does. It'll do it for sometimes 10, 15, 20. I think like 30 seconds is usually a long one of those. And that's on top of the normal humming, buzzing, whatever that I have going on 100% of the time. But I personally know several individuals that have tinnitus also, from the most extreme tinnitus that you can possibly have, the worst case scenario, which I have a ranger buddy who is an example of that from back in the day, and then the lowest cases where I have veterans that I work with. When I do that head-to-toe assessment, if you haven't seen that video, check it out. When I do that head-to-toe assessment with veterans and I ask them, do you have ringing in the ears? And sometimes the veteran will say no at that time, but then they'll go home, and because we talked about it, it'll key them into like paying more attention to their body post-interview with me. And then they'll come back during my second interview, probably prior to their first doctor's appointment, and they'll be like, I actually do have ringing in the ears, and we'll add it to the list of things that they're getting ready to file for. A lot of times as a veteran, if you've been out long enough, some of the pain, but even the ringing in the ears, we're specifically talking about tinnitus, you'll assimilate into society and you'll forget the disabilities that you had or you felt, spiritual, emotional, physical, in this instance, sound in your ears. You'll actually work your way out of them. You'll be so focused on your spouse, your children, your 1 to 3 jobs that you work in trying to pay the bills, and your crunched timeline, that you don't have time to worry about the pain in your lower back or the ringing in your ears. And you'll almost forget about it. In my instance or my case, it's a permanent part of my life. So you'll hear a lot of times people talk about disabilities or veterans with disabilities, and it's that like, you're never going to be the same again. You're just going to learn how to live with those disabilities. And sometimes living with those disabilities is literally tuning those disabilities out. Tinnitus. As a 20-year veteran of the United States Army, I started noticing my tinnitus in the 90s. So I was in the 1st Ranger Battalion in Savannah, Georgia. I had 5 to 6 years in already. We were doing demo ranges, blowing demo at like 5 feet with plastic barriers between us and them, with the crunch them down earplugs originally, and then the rubber ones that you could just shove in. We didn't have the Pelletors that everybody's wearing now. So can your tinnitus be linked back to your service in the military if you've been out for 5, 10, 15, 20 years or longer? I have helped Vietnam veterans receive 10% for tinnitus. So it can be done 50 years after their service in Vietnam. Vietnam vets getting 10% for the ringing in their ears. And the thing that I want you to think about on top of that is, as the veteran, this is just one of probably many disabilities that you're living with on a daily basis that you are constantly reminded of. So from the moment you wake up in the morning until the time you lay your head down on the pillow. And the crazy thing is, for me, that's when I hear my tinnitus the most, because I'm busy, I'm shoot moving and communicating during the day. I'm trying to listen to all the other things and just ignore the tinnitus. And at this point, it's just a constant state of ignoring the tinnitus. But when I lay down at night and I put my head down on the pillow and the house is quiet, there's no other noise in the house, that's when I hear the humming, the buzzing, and the ringing in my ears. And those are the times where those hearing aids can be worn at night to compensate for that and play a sound like a stream flowing, rain falling on the roof or whatever, so that you're not laying there just listening to the ringing. So this is video 1 in a series of videos that we're going to be making on all sorts of disabilities that can be filed for service-connected disability rating. If you're a veteran, again, Army, Navy, Air Force, Marine, Coast Guard, Space Force, it's not always being blown up. It's not always the sound of gunfire. It's high-pitched machines on ships, on submarines. It's aircraft taking off on a ship or on an airfield. You're loading bombs, you're receiving the aircraft, so on and so forth. And sometimes it's just being in the field, which the VA has a hard time dealing with, because as a service member nowadays, you're supposed to have Hearing Pro in 24/7. That's what, outside looking in, that's how they're looking at us. We wake up and we immediately put our Hearing Pro in and we wear it all day long, and therefore we're not going to be compensated for hearing loss anymore. They're just going to issue hearing aids to us. But tinnitus is one of those things, it's measurable. You can't argue with a veteran that claims tinnitus because it's measurable. So in the realm of veterans questioning a disability that one veteran has and going, oh, that guy served, he did this, he did that, he did the other thing, and now I'm questioning his filing, which I completely do not agree with. We should be celebrating every win that every veteran gets, not questioning whether a veteran deserves his rating for hearing loss, tinnitus, PTSD, TBI, or any other, the list of disabilities that a veteran can file for. But again, this is video 1 in a series of videos that we're going to be making, and I'm going to start off with all my disabilities. So again, I started off with tinnitus because it's a confidence target, and then I'm going to work my way through the disabilities that I have. If you'd like to see us do a video on a service-connected disability rating for something that you have and you haven't seen a video on it yet, go ahead and post that in the comments. Give us a like. maybe even subscribe to the channel and be ready for notifications for when those videos are made. I am going to be going through the comments and completing videos on the commented service-connected disability rating filing categories that you can file for. So again, I'm going to start off with all of my disabilities, and then from there I'll start branching out to disabilities that I've helped other veterans file for that I don't have, and then I'll be going into the comments and diving in. This is not only to help you, the service members and veterans that are out there either getting ready to transition out of the military, that are in the transition process, or that are already out and they're veterans themselves trying to figure out what their service-connected disability rating is going to be, or trying to maybe improve it. But this is also for me, because this is going to educate me. So as a veterans advocate, I need to get more informed. I'm going to be creating a binder, a 1-inch binder for each one of our service-connected disability ratings. I'm going to be putting all the information I have on those things, and then I'll be putting in instances and collaborating evidence that needs to be in your packet for that. And then I'll be a better asset as an advocate for you, the veteran, when you call me or email me and say, hey Rick, I have this service, I have this disability, I've had it since I joined the military or since I got out of the military, and I'm not service connected for it. Can you help me? What evidence do I need to provide the VA benefits in order to get this service-connected disability rating? So tinnitus, it's pretty simple, ringing in the ears. There's not a lot to it. It comes with a 10% service-connected disability rating, which is worth about $175 a month. Step one in this process would be for you to go down to a vet service center. I have videos on starting the service-connected disability process. You can look up that video on this channel and watch that in its entirety. But step one, go down to a vet service center, go to your local VFW, go to a DAV, and walk in the door and ask to see a VSO, a Veteran Service Officer. Make the appointment with them, come in, bring a copy of your DD-214, bring your identification, probably your driver's license, and make sure you have bank account information that when you do get service connected and they start paying you that compensation money, they have a place to put that money in. Those are the 3 main things that you need when you go to that appointment. So since this is video 1 of many videos we're getting ready to make, I want to make sure I touch on this subject because there's something that's going on in the veteran community right now that I'm really not liking. There's a lot of backseat driving. There's a lot of people bad-mouthing or talking about other veterans that have filed for or received a service-connected disability rating for this, that, or the other thing. It needs to stop, okay? You going on social media and bad-mouthing somebody because they filed and they actually got a service-connected disability rating, what you don't understand is that's affecting some of the people that are looking that post and their decision to either file if they haven't, their decision to question their actual, do I actually have this disability or not? And there's no room for that. Again, as I mentioned earlier in this video, we should all be celebrating every veteran that gets any kind of win when it comes to VA benefits. Every service member that gets a win with VA benefits, that starts the process and works its way through, can become an advocate for other veterans. That's how my story got started. I got out in 2009. I got a certain disability, 30%, when I should have had 100%, and it took me over 10 years to change my situation. If I would have listened to the naysayers, some of the comments that I'm reading out there on social media about this, that, or the other thing, I might have quit. To make this video, I actually went through my entire military medical records jacket and I found every single letter that I got back from the VA, starting with my 24 November 2009 letter where I was service connection for tinnitus is granted with an evaluation of 10% effective 1 November 2009. That was a great day for Ricky Mills on one side, the positives and negatives of filing for a service-connected disability rating. That was one of 3 or 4 things that I found positive for, on top of the other 10 things that I was denied. Hence, 10% for tinnitus, linked in with a few other things that got me the 30%. So on one hand, I get this letter dated 24 November 2009 that backdates to my first day on retirement. I retired 31 October 2009. First day on retirement, 1 November 2009, and that's exactly when it was backdated. So for you transitioning service members, my message to you is, when am I going to get my letter or the decision on my disability percentage, or what was found service connected or what wasn't? As an example, or my example is that you're probably not going to get that until some point a few weeks after you get out. So you're a father, husband, brother, son, retired or not, maybe 4 to 10, 15, 20 years in the military, but you're retired, you're going to be getting a pension, or you're getting out and you're not going to be getting a pension, and you're trying to figure out your budget. It's very hard to do. You can guesstimate what your percentage is going to be when you get out, but 9 times out of 10, you're going to get lowballed. Your disability percentage that you're going to get when you get out is going to be less than you thought, and then you're going to have to start fighting. And that comes in the form of appeals. That comes in the form of finding and submitting new information with your appeal, because you cannot file anything that was filed with your initial claim filing. This is the actual text that came with the granting of the service-connected disability rating. If you need to pause this page to read through it, go ahead. So again, November 24th, 2009, and then I can go all the way to the back of this, all the way to the back to the final letter when I got 100% in 2019. So I just wanted to share that with you. Again, these videos, this channel, we're trying to reach out and touch everybody that's out there. Active duty service members that have questions about the transitioning methodology or process, questions that they have that might be answered during some of our videos, of veterans that are in the transition process, and then veterans that are out and either filed already, haven't filed, or are trying to make a change to their disability percentage. I think there's a lot of people out there that don't understand what disability money is paid for. So at this time, I want to cover that. Disability money is to compensate the veteran who has a disability that they incurred during their service, from the day that they joined the military, they signed their contract, to the day that they got out, their last day in service, no matter how long that period of time is. How did their body change, their mind, their soul? And at the end of that, that person's going to enter the workforce, and what is the difference between a civilian in the same job position and their ability to make a dollar figure, and the veteran who has that disability? In this case, tinnitus. If you're working in an office space, machine shop, wherever it is, and your ears are ringing constantly, and you're doing the does the ringing in my ears bother you? Is that going to affect your performance compared to the average guy in the machine shop or wherever job, whatever office space, whatever you choose to work at when you get out of the military? It is. It's going to affect you. So in one last effort to connect it to you, let me put it like this. What is 10%? So you're a veteran, you don't have any service-connected disability rating, or you have a service-connected with 0%. 10% equates to what? At 10% as a veteran, there's different programs out there that 10%, if you don't have a minimum of 10%, you can't get into that program. So there's percentages for, there's a long list of things that 100%, 70% is a change, 50% is a change, but at 10%, the one thing that I can think of is Chapter 31 education benefits. That is for the veteran, all right? So if you go to, in my example, Syracuse University, you have Chapter 31 for the veteran, Chapter 33, which is GI Bill, and you have Chapter 35, which is for dependents at 100%. But Chapter 31 specifically, the veteran has to have 10% at least to file for that program and then get into school. It equates to, right now, I'd have to look up the numbers, but back when I went to the office last year, it was about $1,400, $1,500 a month while you were attending school. So it's not only the $175 a month. If you were a veteran and you just got out and you're transitioning veteran, you can do the math on that and then look at yourself using your Chapter 33 GI Bill to go back to school. And if you run out of GI Bill, then you can transition over to a Chapter 31 if you have a minimum of 10%. So there's more there than you think. So again, my name's Ricky Mills with Jaeger Veteran Adventures, and this has been an informational video with a veteran's perspective on tinnitus, the ringing, the buzzing, the humming in the ears. This is video 1 in our series of videos that we're getting ready to make on different disabilities that you can file a service-connected disability rating for. And we hope that you found it informational at least. If you did, go ahead and make sure you like the video. Give us a comment with anything that you'd like to see in future videos, and maybe subscribe to the channel. We'd really like it if you recommended this channel to any of your veteran/service member friends that may have questions, may find some of the information on our channel interesting or informative in their process.